You guys didn't have to see me struggle getting up. Hello, everybody. We have a Salt Lake City committee meeting tonight, the city council meeting. So I thought I'd bring you along. It says Scott Corpany, but he is the administrative person. I was watching Poe for a little while. We also have I believe Crazy Love was on her way over there. We'll restream her for a minute.
Look at what flag they're flying right now. That's really cool. Yes, hearts for Minion 24. Minion 24. Oh, Lord.
Let's tell her that I am on Zoom for meeting.
Yeah. Oh, work was so exhausting today. Yeah, Fat Grammy, I'm trying to charge my phone. I was at work all day and I have not been home. So I'm trying to charge my phone in my car. I'm trying to charge it. I just got here. If I knew work was going to be so exhausting, I probably would have done it on Zoom today, but I have good news, guys. Me and my co-officer and the foundation is now registered with the state of Utah as lobbyists. That's right. We are now lobbyists in the state of Utah. Woo woo! We are now registered and recognized. So, I am so freaking excited. The amount of access that we have now to so many different meetings, and it's amazing. Yeah.
Good evening, K.A.
I'm excited.
We are watching Crazy Love charge her phone before she goes into the council meeting, because she is from Utah, and this is her council meeting. Hey, Miss Sunrise Dawn.
Oh, yeah.
Let me turn her volume down. Hi, Anna. Welcome to my channel, you guys. Hey, Laura. Yeah, we are doing the Salt Lake City Council meeting tonight. And if anybody wants to public comment, the agenda is in my description. Hey, Peter. They do have their own stream with better audio, and that's what I tap into. So we will have their audio. I won't stream hers when we get in there. So I will go straight to their Zoom, and it has better audio. Yes, you are correct, Peter. So we will go straight to their Zoom when it turns on. Let me see if they have it on yet. It is, nope, it's still not on. We're still waiting for them to hook up. So that is that one. We'll just leave it on there for a little while. But if you are interested, did I leave the, nope, that is not it. Good night, Anna. Thank you for stopping in. Appreciate it. Did I leave the... Yes, here we go. Here is the council meeting. If anybody wants to, you have 10 minutes to still register if you would like. Okay, Miss Sunrise Dawn, thank you for stopping in. And it is the second you scroll down on the page, and it's the 7 o'clock, because it's 7 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, one where you register if you want to do public comment. And this one is 2 minutes. And so you'll have 2 minutes to speak about whatever you would like to speak about. I've been doing anti-Scientology stuff with them, and so I've been giving them little history lessons each council meeting. I've been doing these for a couple of months now with Crazy Love. And let me go back to, we're still waiting on them to open the Zoom. I'm usually up bright and early in the morning. I've been up since about 6 this morning, so long streamer day. Tomorrow's going to be a busy day too. And then you guys, any of you that do the public works with us, Peter, Friday we are on the agenda for the public works. So permits and processes is on the agenda finally. So we'll get to speak public comment and about the agenda item. So good work to everybody for calling in and making a way. Baby steps. I'm going to turn that so that way I'm not so. Yippee! Yeah, Peter, yippee! So we need to get everybody gathered for Friday for Amy and for LI New York, Mini Minion, and YRB audit. Everybody involved that normally calls in. Because that will be nice. Today was kind of a bummer that I didn't get on the LAPD commission, but that's okay. I went ahead and emailed it over to the OIG because with a note saying, look, you guys keep messing up the technicality of Zoom, and I want to be heard, so I emailed it. Which YRB had a good point that if you really, really want to be heard on some of these that limit their times, then probably emailing it in the day before is best. I still need to do your 311 thing, Peter. I haven't forgotten about it. And I did look it over, that it was pretty cool. We've been working on a few issues lately between audit and Nancy Drew. No, not that I've seen. Do you want to get on live with me to walk it through? Or do you want me just to try and walk it through? Not tonight, but hopefully sometime this week. I guess I should ask when, if you do, when would you like to do it? I know you like to be behind the scenes more than in front of the camera, so I'll accept that answer too, whichever way you want to do it. Okay, Crazy Love, are you still sitting outside? Yep, Crazy's still sitting outside. It looks like she's getting ready to go inside. I've got this one on, not on the audio, in Zoom. Finally got it all figured out. Okay, Peter. I sort of assumed that, but I wanted to make sure. Always give you the chance, just in case. Oh, here we go. I'm going to put me over here in the corner.
This is an audio test. Can anyone in the Zoom confirm?
Sounds good on Zoom.
You get to hear the dog drinking again. Sorry, Peter. Hopefully they'll stop before the video starts. Let me see. I'm going to switch over to the agenda real quick. Is the agenda still on here? Oops. Here's the council agenda. Formal meeting. What do we have tonight? So here's our agenda for tonight. Opening ceremony. Pledge of Allegiance. Welcome and public meeting rules. Ceremonial resolution for the First World AIDS Day in Salt Lake. Public hearings. Items B1 and B2 will be heard as one public hearing. Good. So that's right. The grant application for the pro housing. Grant application for the Community Forest Corps and Urban Forestry Fellowship. 3, the ordinance for the Jordan River Fair Park District. And if I remember right, they do public after everything. 4, the ordinance for temporary closure of a portion of that. Potential action items. So 2 potential action items. So it might be a little while, but it shouldn't be too bad. At least there isn't a shit ton of them like sometimes. Well, it's not too bad. Yeah, these guys are just noisy little critters.
Welcome to today's meeting. We're happy to have you, whether you're joining us in person or online. We hope you'll continue to participate in whichever manner you feel most comfortable. Thank you again. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you again to everyone who's joining us tonight. Before we move through the agenda, I want to quickly go through registration information and our rules and standards for public meetings. We welcome everyone, and the council's goal is to make the meetings a place where people feel safe and comfortable participating in their government. We invite everyone to help us make this a welcoming space. A respectful and safe environment allows us to conduct the meeting in an orderly and efficient way. Our most basic rule is that any action that causes a disruption to our ability to conduct the meeting or any safety concern involving threats or unprotected speech are not allowed. These actions or comments may result in removal of the meeting. As a reminder of our public comment registration process, individuals may register to comment on scheduled public hearing items up until the hearing is closed. For the general public comment section, we will accept signups until 7:30 p.m. The general comment section is limited to a maximum of 1 hour and will only include commenters who register before 7:30. So if you're here to give general comments, please sign up and remember that it is possible not everyone who signed up may be able to speak. Our next item, A4, is to consider adopting a joint ceremonial resolution with Mayor Mendenhall recognizing December 1st as World AIDS Day in Salt Lake City. I'm going to turn the time over to Councilmember Dugan, who will read the resolution.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's a joint resolution declaring World AIDS Day 2024 in Salt Lake City. Whereas, according to estimates from the Joint United Nations Program on HIV/AIDS, there are now more than 39.9 million people throughout the world living with human immunodeficiency virus, HIV. Of these, 53% are women and girls, 1.4 million are children, 1.3 million new infections occur among adults and children in 23 alone. And whereas in Utah, HIV incidence has not yet seen a significant decrease in new HIV infections when other metropolitan areas have. And whereas in Utah, the rate of new HIV diagnoses with stage 3 infections has not decreased in the last 5 years. And whereas up to 85% of people living with HIV in Utah reside along the Wasatch Front. And whereas the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has found that HIV-related stigma has a significant negative impact on people living with HIV, increases new infections, and delays people seeking testing for HIV. And whereas stigma, shame, and fear make people less likely to discuss their sexual health with doctors and often lead to delaying in seeking testing or treatment for sexually transmitted infections and HIV, which can have serious long-term health consequences. And whereas people with HIV who take HIV medicine as prescribed maintain and keep an undetectable viral load and can live long and healthy lives and will not transmit HIV to an HIV negative partner. And whereas pre-exposure prophylaxis PrEP, a daily regime of 2 oral antiviral and antiretroviral drugs in a single pill have proven to be highly effective in preventing HIV infection in individuals at high risk, reducing the risk of acquiring HIV from sex by about 99%. And whereas Salt Lake City supports the efforts of the Utah AIDS Foundation in its mission to provide support to people living with HIV/AIDS and prevent services from those at risk of HIV. Salt Lake City also supports a vital work of the Salt Lake County Health Department Sexually Transmitted Disease Clinic, which provides testing for HIV at no cost. And whereas the elimination of stigma in Utah will lead to better physical and mental health outcomes for people living with HIV, increased HIV disclosure, increase HIV testing, and decrease HIV infections. And whereas World AIDS Day was established in 1988 and is observed each year on December 1st to provide an opportunity for individuals and communities to take action and help educate for HIV/AIDS prevention, treatment, and care. And whereas Salt Lake City has joined other cities around the world to increase awareness, reduce stigma, provide education about HIV/AIDS, and demonstrate compassion for those affected by HIV. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Salt Lake City Council and Mayor of Salt Lake City hereby recognize December 1st, 2024 as World AIDS Day in Salt Lake City and encourage all residents to unite together in the fight against HIV/AIDS, reduce the stigma of HIV/AIDS, and support those who are living with or have been affected by HIV/AIDS. Be it further resolved, Salt Lake City is grateful for the FDA's decision to rescind its recommendation that blood donation centers turn away donors in the LGBTQ plus community based solely on sexual history since, according to the CDC, all blood for transfusion is tested for evidence of certain infectious disease pathogens such as HIV. Adopted this 19th of November, 2024.
Thank you, Councilmember Dugan. I'll look for a motion.
For approval of the resolution.
Second.
Motion moved by Councilmember Wharton, second by Councilmember Pui. All those in favor?
Wait, I have a discussion to this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Madam Chair, I just want to say that I don't know if it was last year or might have been the year before when we passed this resolution every year, but I think it was either last year or the year before, we included language asking for Health and Human Services to change that provision that prevented certain people from donating blood. And I don't want to say that it was because of our resolution, but within a year of us doing that and sending it to the Department of Health and Human Services, they did change the policy. So I know it wasn't just Salt Lake City, but it was so important for communities to speak out about that change. And that's something that finally happened. And I'm really proud that this is something we continue to pass each year.
Thank you for your comments. Do we have any more discussion? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. I'd also like to welcome Nico Lockhart Allen, who manages the HIV prevention program for UAF Legacy Health.
Thank you for allowing me to be here to accept this resolution. As you know, Utah AIDS Foundation is now UAF Legacy Health, where we are the first primary care clinic for the LGBTQ plus community. And for years, we have provided services for HIV prevention, but now we can also provide treatment, mental health services, and behavioral health services. I myself manage the after hours test site clinic on Mondays and Thursdays from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And in honor of World AIDS Day, the week of, we provide free testing for the community. So if anybody would like to, they are more than welcome to. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If you'd like to step back here and we can get a quick photo.
Everybody say cheese. Photo op. Say cheese, Peter. Say cheese, K.A. I hope this doesn't mean they're going to have forever.
This brings
go
us to the
through.
public hearing section of our agenda. These are specific proposals before the council that require a public hearing. Your comments should pertain to the hearing item. And if you go off topic, we will ask you to stop your comment. Our meeting rules apply to hear disruptions or threats, or we will ask a staff member to assist you out of the meeting. Also, comments that include profanity, personal attacks, intimidation, or discriminatory language are not persuasive or compelling to the council. They are not helpful in creating a respectful or safe environment. To sign up to comment on any of the hearing items, please register online or turn in a comment card to an in-person staff. We accept signups until the hearing item is closed. We will be calling the names in the order of sign up. If you are on Zoom, please unmute your mic when your name is called. Each person will have 2 minutes to speak. Please raise your hand in the room or on Zoom for staff assistance. If you are having technical issues in Zoom, our staff member, Ellie Tran, can assist you. If you reach the 2-minute mark, the host will announce time and your microphone will be muted. If you're unable to finish your comment, please share the rest via email, mail, or call our office. Contact information is listed at slccouncil.com. If you have any handout for the council, please notify council staff who will assist you. Our first public hearings items are B1 and B2 are for grant application items, which will be heard as one public hearing. Before we begin taking comments, I will first turn the time over to Sylvia Richards, Council Staff Policy Analyst, to give a short introduction. Thank you, Sylvia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The city periodically applies for and receives grants which fund some city programs. Each grant will receive a public hearing. This gives the council and the public an opportunity to learn about the grants. The first grant is the Pro Housing Grant, Pathways to Removing Obstacles to Housing, which would continue funding 5 existing positions and focus on expanding the Community Land Trust and Fix the Bricks programs. The Community Land Trust Program addresses housing affordability by serving low to moderate income individuals. The Fix the Bricks program addresses seismic retrofits for homes within Salt Lake City. The second grant is the Community Forest Corps and Urban Forestry Fellowship, which would fund automated irrigation devices at Westside homes to care for existing park strip trees. The city will partner with Utah Conservation Corps to launch and manage the Community Forestry Youth Employment Program to accomplish this work. The grant also includes funding for a fellowship to lead outreach and engagement regarding the tree stewardship and urban heat management. Again, these are grants for which the city has applied. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. Taylor, please start with our first public comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have one person registered to speak to these items. That will be Bernie Hart, who is here in person.
Sorry, Madam Chair. We've been informed Bernie doesn't want to speak on this item.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Next comment.
There's no more comment.
Oh,
Sorry.
oh, I thought you were.
No.
Okay. Are there any other comments? No other comments? All right. I'll look for a motion.
Madam Chair. I move that the council close the public hearing and refer item B1 and B2 to a future consent agenda for action.
Second.
Motion made by Councilmember Pui, second by Councilmember Dugan. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion passes. Public hearing is closed. Our next item, B3, is for the ordinance Jordan River Fair Park District zoning map and text amendment. Before we begin taking comments, I'll first turn the time over to Nick Tarbett, Council Deputy Director, to give a short introduction.
This public hearing pertains to the proposal that would amend the city zoning ordinance in the following ways. Create a new zoning district known as the Jordan River Fair Park Zoning District. Rezone parcels along North Temple at approximately 1500 west to the Jordan River Fair Park Zoning District, as well as the city entering into a development agreement with the property owner. This needs to be done by December 31st, 2024 per state statute.
Thank you, Nick. Taylor, please start with our first public comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There are about 16 people registered to speak to this item. The first will be Lucy Cardenas, followed by Bill Coker, and then Tim Tinky. Lucy is here in person.
Hello, nice to see you and thank you for allowing us to be here. I am Lucy Cardenas and I am a business owner and resident just off of North Temple. I have lived in Salt Lake City since 1965. I have seen great changes and I have seen my neighborhood decline. I'll have to say it, we own a very successful restaurant on North Temple. We have anywhere between 500 and 1,000 visitors a day. They come to our neighborhood. We also employ 200 people. I have been waiting for businesses, dynamic businesses to move into my neighborhood. I want to walk and feel proud of my neighborhood. In 1965 to 1975, I was very proud of my neighborhood because there were businesses along North Temple that we could visit. There were businesses along 600 North that were vital and we could visit. And now a lot of that is gone. So I am in favor of rezoning. Thank you.
Next is Bill Coker, followed by Tim Tinky, and then Joshua Stewart. Bill's here in person.
Thank you for letting us be here tonight. This is my wife. We own the Red Iguana Restaurants. We have dedicated our lives to that area. We opened a second restaurant two blocks away because we felt like we wanted it to stay in the neighborhood, and the expectation was that we would have other restaurants join us. That has not been the case, and so to see a project of this scale and the commitment of state and city relationships, is a substantial aspect of making a change that probably would not happen in any other fashion. And we would continue to struggle with what is going on now in the area and in the neighborhood. Situations are happening in 50 feet from our house and our restaurant, where 3 highway patrol vehicles are there, 2 cop cars, an ambulance, and paramedics for 2 people on the street that are having drug overdoses. And this is going on all the time. And we are under assault, and we want it to stop. And we want the revitalization of the area to go forward. And we feel like the partnerships between the state and Larry H. Miller and the power company and all the people that are involved, this is our only shot at it. And I really believe we should do this. Thank you.
Next will be Tim Tinky, followed by Joshua Stewart, and then Calvin Forrest. Tim's here in person.
Council members, my name's Tim Tingy, and I'm here representing the NeighborWorks Salt Lake Board of Directors. And on behalf of the board, I express our strong support for the Jordan River Fair Park District zoning map and text amendment. For years, NeighborWorks Salt Lake has advocated for investments that create a vibrant and inclusive west side and feel this project will be transformative for the area. Since last year, NeighborWorks Salt Lake has been collaborating with the Larry H. Miller Real Estate Group to ensure that the voices of the community are front and center. We've appreciated their willingness to listen, engage, and adapt, and it is helping to shape the vision that will provide a positive impact for the neighborhoods. In this project, it's critical that we prioritize housing that serves a diverse range of income levels. The success of the neighborhoods depend on attracting mixed-use housing. This element will bring essential amenities like grocery stores, restaurants, and other services that create a vibrant, sustainable community. We're also excited about the renewed focus on the Jordan River. The plans to ensure walkability, enhance safety, and bring new life to the riverfront are commendable and important. It will create spaces where neighbors can gather, connect, and enjoy the beauty of the trail and surrounding environment. The project represents a shift from planning to doing, and we are eager for the rezone to be approved and for the project to progress to benefit residents and strengthen the community. NeighborWorks Salt Lake is proud to support this rezone and project, and we're committed to continued collaboration to ensure the project reflects the needs, values, and aspirations of our West Side neighborhoods. Together, we can create a thriving future for all. Thank you.
Next will be Joshua Stewart, followed by Calvin Forrest, and then Natalie Gochner. Joshua's here.
All right. Despite adding 14,000 new residents in the last 10 years, the Salt Lake City's children age range is the most shrinking demographic. Salt Lake City recently closed 4 elementary schools. You're aware of that. We closed 7 Peaks Resort, a children-friendly amenity. And despite having over 1,000 new housing units around Mary Jackson Elementary, it's closing too. It just closed. So the average age of a Major League Baseball player or baseball ticket holder is 42. Okay, so that's, and an MLB TV viewer is age 57. So Salt Lake City housing policy is failing to create flourishing equitable city for children. A city designed for children is a city that benefits everyone in the long run. The aged, the mobility challenged, just everybody that has a safer streets, parks to play in, and housing to live in. Okay, so while many are quick to support Major League Baseball, I would encourage these people to attend school board meetings where tears are shed and schools are closed. Housing needs to include 3+ bedroom units, and this should not just be affordable units, but this should be across the board. We should have 50% of that housing should be for children. We need more child-friendly parks, not just dog parks like we had at Hardware District. We need to challenge, I would challenge LHM and the city to have an independent consultant review the planning throughout this process. There are experts in child-friendly design. We could have an independent person come in and fund them to review the plans and make comments. And then you could make judgment calls based on that. And I could share some of those names with you in the future. Anyway, I would encourage a goal of this district should be to reopen Mary Jackson at the end of the day. So thank you.
Time. Next will be Calvin Forrest, followed by Natalie Gochner, and then Heidi Walker. Calvin's here in person.
Good evening, council members and staff. Happy to be here. Thank you for allowing us to comment on this proposal. So as you all know, Salt Lake City's growing, right? I mean, we got the Olympics coming up. There's a lot of things going on. At the end of the day, who's going to do all that work, right? I'm here to represent my fellow members of the Carpenters Union, Local 801, part of the United Brotherhood of Carpenters and Joiners of America. And we're here to ask you to pass this zoning amendment because this is going to create work for a lot of our members and a lot of the people in this community and the surrounding communities. We've had workers at the airport, this great, wonderful airport. It's super awesome, right? I've seen guys actually installing some of those panels that are part of the new river. We've had guys doing the stuff that you never see, all the underground stuff that makes the actual structure of that. It's been putting a lot of people to work for many years, and we want to continue that. We've been helping build Salt Lake since 1897. That's when the Carpenters Union was first chartered in this town. It was pretty much like right after like all the stuff with the polygamy and stuff kind of got like washed over. So they were like, okay, we can do this stuff now. So yeah, recently we've had workers out there on I-15 and I-80 doing some of that stuff in the middle of the night. I've personally done that kind of work. It's not fun, but it brings money in. It puts food on the table for our families. So we're in support of this resolution. We're in support of this zoning change. Recently, of course, you all are aware of the Hyatt Regency Hotel. Some of these members have worked on that. Like I said, the airport, the Astra Tower, now the tallest building in Utah. Some of these members have worked on that building. And the Kensington Tower, the Whistler, I don't know. There was something about the wind and the whistling and that kind of stuff. So that wasn't our deal, right? That's the architects. You know, we just build it, right? We just go out there and pound the nails and put the bolts together. So we're in support of this resolution. Be mindful, however, of how the work is done and who is doing that. Let's work on some ordinances to protect wage theft and those sorts of things as well.
Next is Natalie Gochner, followed by Heidi Walker, and then Nelson Almario. Natalie is here in person.
Good evening, everyone. Natalie Gochner. I'm here to speak tonight personally in my capacity as a longtime resident of Salt Lake Valley. More than a decade ago, and as a leader at the Salt Lake Chamber, I spent a significant amount of time working on the success of Salt Lake City. I interviewed 70 people, read a lot of urban planning literature, organized a lot of data, and we called our work Downtown Rising. And in many ways, that effort planted seeds for much of the success that we are harvesting today. As you consider the Fair Park and Power District proposal, I thought it'd be helpful if I shared a few of the lessons that I learned when I worked on Downtown Rising. Lesson number one is that the capital city belongs to all Utahns, and that when you make decisions about the Fair Park and the Power District, you are in fact being a city council to the state. Many people don't know, but the mean population center of our economic region, so where we balance our population, if everyone weighed the same, where would it balance? 21st South and State. Pretty interesting. Lesson number two, regions compete with amenities. And it's not the only thing, but it's particularly important in urban centers. And sports and entertainment are a vital amenity because of their popularity and singularity. In the information age, people can live wherever they want. This city must compete with amenities. Lesson number three, go local. This state is blessed with people who are incredibly committed to this beautiful place, and the Miller family lives and breathes local. I can't wait to see what the Miller family is going to do with the planning, community partnerships, investments, mixed income housing, amenities like grocery stores, healthcare, childcare, open space, year-round activation of this fantastic location. And the final lesson is don't miss the moment. And I've mentioned to you before that city building is a relay race. Each generation holds that baton. This is your time to hold that baton. Let's not drop it. Thank you so much.
Next is Heidi Walker, followed by Nelson Altamirano, and then Sydney Shorter. Heidi's here in person.
Thank you. I'm Heidi Walker, representing the Salt Lake Chamber, the largest and longest serving business association in Utah, and also the Downtown Alliance. The Salt Lake Chamber has been working with the Larry H. Miller Company on their vision for the West Side for about 18 months. We appreciate their efforts to create a welcoming gateway for the Salt Lake City International Airport to our downtown area. The West Side is culturally rich, an important stakeholder within our Salt Lake business community. We're excited to see the private investment from LHM to ensure we see a robust project that includes residential, commercial, open space, retail, and restaurants. They are experienced developers who have a strong track record in our state and with our chamber. We are grateful to see so many stakeholders at the table. This has been a transparent and inclusive process, and we're glad to be one of their partners. We don't see many projects like this come along very often, especially with such a commitment of private dollars. We know this will provide opportunities for economic growth. It's the Salt Lake Chamber's mission to see businesses thrive. This investment will enhance the West Side, Salt Lake City, and the state as a whole. As the largest business association, we work on policy relating to the water issues in our state. We're happy to see the power districts focus on the river, especially as a hub for this project. Salt Lake City can be a river city with the Power District project. We can also use this work to help improve the health of the Great Salt Lake. We continue to work closely with service providers and decision makers on homelessness. We're happy to see an increased emphasis on the Jordan River and eradicating the crime that continues there. We know Gail Miller is deeply committed to homelessness issues in our state, and we believe her organization is the right one to work on those issues at the Power District. We support the Power District vision and believe it will be done responsibly and inclusively. Thank you.
Next will be Nelson Altamirano, followed by Sydney Shorter, and then Alan Tolpa. Nelson's here in person.
Hello, Nelson Altamirano, representing today the Utah Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, who is in turn representing a large segment and a growing business community in our city and state. The Power District project represents an incredible opportunity to enhance and elevate the vibrant, growing Hispanic business ecosystem of the West Side, with a particular focus on supporting the thriving businesses along the North Temple corridor, as we just heard. This area is home to a dynamic network of successful enterprises that contribute significantly to cultural and economic vitality of the community. And we believe that by attracting more patrons and creating new avenues for growth, the project will amplify these contributions and further stimulate diversity and local commerce. The Larry H. Miller Company has pledged to honor and uplift the unique cultural identity and entrepreneurial spirit in the area, ensuring that the project integrates seamlessly with the existing community fabric. And additionally, this initiative aims to inspire and support the creation of new businesses, fostering a long-term success and strengthening the Hispanic community's economic foundation. Through this collaborative effort, the Power District project will serve as a catalyst for sustained economic development and cultural enrichment, which is what we strive for. So, in general, as a member of this community, I'm very excited about that project, and we hope it could be rezoned and done. Thank you.
Next is Sydney Shorter, followed by Alan Tolepa, and then Andrew Gruber. Sydney's here in person.
Good evening, council members. I'm Dr. Sydney Lloyd Shorter. I'm the president and CEO of the Utah Black Chamber of Commerce. I often say, anyone who's heard me speak, that as a Chamber of Commerce, our focus and our priority is the economic ecosystem. This public-private partnership prepares us for what the future looks like. If we're planning for today or next year, we've already failed. This project gives us the indication of what the future could be like, not just for the West Side, not just for Salt Lake City. This is a global competition, and we are in it. We're number one in the country as it relates to economics. We should remain there. We should be who everyone is striving to beat. that is our place. This keeps us solidly there. This is about an economic ecosystem. My focus is always looking at ensuring that everyone has an opportunity to be vital to that economic ecosystem. I think Larry H. Miller is setting a precedence on what that looks like. It's not just about baseball. It is about education. It is about economics, and it is about our future. And I would ask that we support the rezoning to ensure that our future is secure as the #1 economic base in the United States, but we are also leading that from a global standpoint. Thank you.
Next will be Alan Tulepa, followed by Andrew Gruber, and then Soren Simonson. Alan is here in person.
Salafalava Council members, my name is Alan Tulepai. I'm the president of the Utah Pacific Islander Chamber, and I stand to confirm what has been spoken of and shared as far as what's coming to the west side. I stand on behalf of the Pacific Islander businesses, as well as education, families, and all that exists on the west side. We have a close relationship with Larry H. Miller, and for that, we're grateful for the family aspect that Larry H. Miller brings. Not just the organization itself, but what they've done for our families. We have a Pacific Heritage Academy that exists right down the street from where this is happening, and that growth is going to spike that. And it's good to see all the statistics that were laid out by Natalie, and to think that we're thinking of the name of the potential team to be Golden Spike. Literally, that's what it is. And I echo the words of Dr. Shorter in the sense that this is the revitalization and the center point of the growth here in Salt Lakes. And we're a part of that. And I represent that from the Pacific Islander and Polynesian communities. Thank you.
Next will be Andrew Gruber, followed by Soren Simonson, and then Carlton Christensen. Andrew's here in person.
Thank you. Hello, members of the council and colleagues and friends in Salt Lake City. I'm Andrew Gruber. I'm the executive director of the Wasatch Front Regional Council. We coordinate regional transportation planning in the area. And I'm just here to provide you a little information about an important transportation analysis that is kicking off that covers the 100+ acres of the Power District and the Fair Park. It's a technical analysis to look at the needs and the options in the area to inform decision-making as you and we all go together, move forward together. First, it's collaborative in that it's working with the public and the private sector. It's actually funded by a state appropriation of $500,000. Salt Lake City, Larry H. Miller Group, the Fair Park, UDOT, UTA, Wasatch Front Regional Council, all working together. It's multimodal in that it looks at needs and options for state and local roads, transit, biking, and walking. We have to give people choices and options for how they get to and around this area. And then finally, it looks at this area from a perspective of the statewide needs, the regional, and the local needs. As we know, getting people to this developing area is not the only objective. What happens within the area, moving around the area, and making sure that we think about and are very careful about the impacts on the residents and the businesses that live there now. The quality of the place is so tied to the transportation decision-making that happens and the changes that happen in that area. So collaborative, multimodal, and broadly based, looking at the state, regional, and local needs. And we're just thrilled to be able to participate in planning for the success of the area, the region, and our whole state. Thanks.
Next is Soren Simonson, followed by Carlton Christensen, and then Bree Shear. Soren's here in person.
Good evening, friends. It's good to be with you again. Thank you for all of the work you and city staff are putting into this transformative opportunity. I'm Soren Simonson, Executive Director of the Jordan River Commission. I'm here in my official capacity to speak in favor of this rezoning opportunity. This is a multi-generational opportunity to transform what has been one of the more industrial parts of the Jordan River for generations. We've seen incredible transformations in other parts of the Salt Lake Valley, the Bingham Junction area, the Sharon Steel property, and others. And while much of the community's reinforcement of the Jordan River is to see it as a natural area, we know there are a few unique opportunities like this Fair Park District where the urban edge can come to the river and recenter community and culture. We have thousands of years of human history. And when we talk about the Jordan, or when we talk about Salt Lake being the crossroads of the West, the Jordan River has literally been the crossroads of the West for millennia. And we're excited and acknowledge that this is an important opportunity to recenter community and culture around this incredible natural resource. Given that we're at the bottom of the watershed here, there are lots of impacts on Salt Lake City from everything that's happening upstream. And we are a resource at the Jordan River Commission to help support efforts to clean the river, to restore a lot of river functions, and even use this development as an opportunity to revitalize stormwater systems that have for many years polluted the Jordan River in all locations. We applaud the work of the Larry H. Miller Company and the vision that they've laid out. We encourage you to continue to think about urban design, not just within the district of this zoning ordinance, but how this district connects and knits back together a community that's been impacted by many barriers, the freeway, the railroads, and a lot of others.
Thank you.
Next is Carlton Christensen, followed by Bree Shear, and then Brian Scott. Carlton's here in person.
Hi, my name Carlton Christensen. I'm a resident of District 1, and I'm here mostly in that capacity. 11 years ago, when I left the council body as a member, I spent the preceding years working with my colleagues on the master plan and redevelopment of North Temple, preceding the construction of light rail. In that process, the most significant obstacle really that we saw at the time and in the years that ensued was that large industrial piece held by Rocky Mountain Power. When I heard news of this opportunity, I realized this was the one opportunity to really move forward the implementation of that master plan and improve on it. Time has a way of correcting mistakes, and certainly there's new opportunities that will ensue. I also know in working with my wife in leading a group of 150 volunteers in that community on the west side and in the central ballpark neighborhoods, that strengthening is more than just infrastructure. It's strengthening individuals and helping them to be in a better place and to be able to continue that service. I see this as a synergism that will be very effective in strengthening the community that I've always called my home. When I graduated from West High School in 1984 and left basketball practice late on a winter night, I drove down 400 West, which at the time in my 64 GMC pickup. And at the time that street was riddled with potholes. And really, to be honest, nobody gave it much credibility. In conjunction with the city, the Millers built the Delta Center and began the dynamics of changing what 400 West is. And it has truly become one of the most significant streets on the west side. And I have confidence that they can do the same.
Next is Bree Shear, followed by Brian Scott, and then Bernie Hart. Bree is here in person.
Thank you. I am, as you know, a member of the Salt Lake City Planning Commission, and I've had the opportunity to look at the zoning amendment in great detail. I'm asking that you change this zoning amendment to add a contingency clause in the sad event that the applicant cannot build a stadium and does not wish to continue with the project. As you know, zoning of this property is not dependent on who owns it, and whatever wonderful vision that the Miller Company may have, the Miller Company or the power company could sell the property to anyone else, and the zoning will pass for the land. I propose that this zoning be modified so that if the stadium is not built, then this zone will no longer exist, and the property will be rezoned with a normal high-density mixed-use zone, and it will be incorporated into all relevant master plans of the city and will retain all overlays that it currently has today. You've been asked to renegotiate the zoning so that LHM can build a baseball stadium and related development, which I presume you'll do. But to demand that the site remain as a perpetual lawless zone, no matter who owns it and no matter their intention, is not addressing very real, though unhappy contingency, and it is irresponsible planning of the city. If we give up all oversight on this 100 acres, the anything goes attitude could mean motels, strip shopping centers, cheap apartment complex, a big box store, or even acres of surface parking, which are all allowed by this laissez-faire zoning might pass. I am not against tall buildings and higher density. I am completely supportive of the planned vision like this one to build an intense project well served by transit. The baseball stadium will be a great monument for the West Side. I can scarcely think of anywhere better for it. I urge you to consider the long-term possibilities and to act now to protect the urban site from low-scale, car-centric, and unsustainable development. Thank you.
Next is Brian Scott, followed by Bernie Hart, and then Jason Wessel. Brian's here in person.
I'm Brian Scott. I'm an architect and also a city planning commissioner. So I've also kind of gone through the zoning for this. And I think that Larry Miller has a number of legacies in Salt Lake, but one of them is an abandoned baseball stadium that we're still trying to figure out what to do with. But they've moved on to this power district and to a new stadium. And I think it's important to separate out the vision and the actual zoning and text, because while the vision is great, the zoning is very, very thin, and it basically just allows anything. I think it can best be summed up by a section out of the master development agreement that states that the city's future laws shall generally not apply to the property except for those consented to by LHM. The worst of these provisions, unfortunately, is not something that you or I can do anything about. It's granted as part of the House bill, and it states that any property within 200 feet of the JRF district when purchased by LHM is automatically rezoned to the JRF district. And I think that this is the really most dangerous part of this, and to the neighborhood and to the surroundings, because when the very act of selling a parcel can quadruple its development potential, it's really hard to overstate how much pressure developers can put on the surrounding areas to grow and push people out. I'd also like to clarify a bit what happens if an agreement isn't reached by the deadline. A lot's made of that December 31st date. And it's not that all of a sudden there is no law and anything goes. What happens is that the Land Uses Authority reverts to the UFair board. And the UFair board, one member is appointed by the city, and there is another who is part of the West Side Coalition. And I would contend that that having the land use controlled by a board where 40% of the representation is that. Oh, thank you.
Just as a reminder, you can submit your comments online, reach out to one of the staff members outside, or reach out to us directly. Thank you.
Next is Bernie Hart, followed by Jason Wessel, and then Emiliano Santiago. Bernie's here in person.
Good evening. I didn't know what I was going to say when I came here tonight, but I had a little interesting conversation with Sylvia. And she mentioned that one of the things we don't talk about, and the extent we need to talk about in some of these projects and redeveloping, and you know, my issue is homelessness. And it's a constant problem. Our jails now are full. You know, the bond didn't pass. We're not going to be building new jails. I think at the work session today, you agreed to hire more police officers to arrest more people, to put them in jails that don't exist. And so we have a problem with no solution, and nobody has a solution, and nobody can imagine a solution. But we have a lot of people in this room that are imagining something real great and real grandiose. And I would like to challenge the people in this room to start taking some of that energy and some of that, oh, I think we can change the world, or we can create something special, to start looking for new answers to solve the problem of the people that are going to be moved out and living along the Jordan River in tents, and you know, have been a problem for the community forever. So I would encourage the people in this room to reimagine what success could look like and what this could look like and have an impact on a bigger problem. And I would also like to encourage the council to start including that kind of thinking in changing ordinances to incentivize new thinking and searching for new solutions to an ongoing problem that is impacting not only the businesses, but the people living on the street themselves. So this is just, oh, Sylvia, you're special. Thanks. But yeah, it's maybe an opportunity to start that kind of discussion. I'm glad I'm in a room with a lot of people that have a lot of influence in the city. And I'd like to start having them reimagining what success looks like. Thank you.
Next is Jason Wessel, followed by Emiliana Santiago. Jason, you may now unmute.
All right, am I unmuted?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. Thank you. I am speaking tonight on behalf of the West Side Coalition, where I'm the vice president. Wanted to say that with the understanding that on the west side, a lot of development has been inflicted on us rather than done with us. We are encouraged by the level of community engagement that has happened so far. So the West Side Coalition supports bringing such a major economic and social asset to the community. We're hopeful that this is going to provide an anchor point in which we can have more families move in, live, work, and play on the West Side. However, we also need to preserve what we currently have, which means taking measures to avoid the displacement of existing residents through gentrification and whatnot. We want to make sure that we keep the businesses and we create spaces for our current residents and businesses in the new development. So we're hopeful that the developers, the state board, and the city is going to make preserving the nature and character of this neighborhood a top priority. Thank you, and I guess I finished way early.
And next is Emiliana Santiago, who's here in person.
Very good. Emiliano Santiago representing the West Side, Rose Park. I'm highly opposed to this rezone. And we've been talking to other residents too, especially those that live nearby, like the VIP trailer park, just right across the street where there's a lot of folks living there. And there's a lot of folks still living on Pueblo Street too on the other side. And we already seen a lot of displacement along the North Temple Boulevard, which the TSA zoning, as we can see, has caused a lot of that. And I feel like upscaling this to a rezone to have 400 tall buildings right in the neighborhood, you know, it's really harmful. It's dangerous. As we see this displacement, as you guys can know that the gentrification study, what the community's been saying for over 45 years, the results have shown that. And I asked to please, you know what I'm saying, to oppose this. We actually live here, you know, I'm surrounded by people that, you know what I'm saying, that have money and wealth behind me, you know. I'm just another working class kid, you know, saying from this neighborhood, 116, and, you know, we just ask you to please to oppose this. Thank you.
That was the final registered commenter for this item.
Thank you to everyone that made a comment. I'll look for a motion.
Madam Chair, I would like to, I move that the council continue the public hearing to a future council meeting.
Is there a second? Okay, motion made by Councilmember Pui, second by Councilmember Wharton. I'll open it up for discussion if there's any.
Chair, I would like to share some thoughts. You know, it is humbling to see, you know, so many of the community coming to say so many of the things that we're talking right now, you know, with the applicant here. And it really is beautiful to see that we all in sync in so many ways about what the goals of this should be. The city is obviously negotiating this agreement with Larry H. Miller right now, the group, and we are working through what those public benefits are going to be for the city. And just the investment is not necessarily a public benefit. It is a great benefit, we know, because there was nothing there, right? There was this piece of land. There was, there is the Rocky Mountain site has never been up for development before. So, comparing it to something else is unfair. But is it a great opportunity right now between the Fair Park and this 100 acres of land to dream big? And I think the applicant is dreaming big. The city and the neighbors are hopeful. I think all of us are very excited to see something amazing there. The bill this year put the city and the applicant in a situation where we have to agree by the end of the year, like it was mentioned here. We have to have an agreement. And if we don't have an agreement, we cannot put those public benefits in writing because those public benefits are key to what you want to see. Many of you mentioned that you want to see the economic benefits for the businesses on North Temple and around. We want to see that too. We want to see housing for families. Gosh, we want to see that too. We want to make sure that there is a diversity of incomes living in this area too. We want to see that too. I want to see a safe area, but I don't want to see only a safe area around that, that neighborhood. I want to see it around it too. So those are the things that we are working through the applicant. We want this district to reflect the community. We don't want it to feel like it's a private, area only for those that can afford it. We want it to fit in too. So I'm excited that we are sitting at the same table. While we didn't set up the table, we were invited to this table. We are not going to leave it. We're going to be at the table while negotiating this. I'm very proud of those that are talking to get to this agreement. The other thing that we are also, working on agreement is to ensure that whomever walks through this district as a private piece of land, whomever goes through the river or through the Jordan pathway, if they look different, if they have a different accent, or they're holding a hand of someone that they love that may not fit, the norm maybe, that they also feel protected and welcome, right? Those are the things that this is the level of agreement that we're working on today. And I'm excited to hopefully get to this agreement done. And it will show the true partnership between the parties. This agreement gets passed. It will really is key to the success of the city and is key to the success of this district that this agreement is done and that we get to an agreement this year. So I'm very excited to be here today to share to share with you that we are talking about who's building it. We're talking about ensuring that people from the neighborhood are also building this. We're talking about these things. So it is encouraging that the community is showing up and telling us that they want to see that in this neighborhood. I'm looking forward to soon, hopefully, reach out to final agreement and celebrate with all of you what is going to happen in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Beautifully echoed comments, Councilmember Pui. Are there any other comments, points of privileges? To the commenter in regards to displacement, I just want to state we did roll out last month a bunch of displacement and tenant programs. I represent District 4, which is a majority renter district. And certainly we've learned lessons from the downtown and other parts of our city that are developing with mass density. So please know you have champions on this council that care about that displacement strategy, care about our residents, and especially care about our youth and ensuring their future success in our city. After all, we are inheritors of Salt Lake City. We have a proud legacy of that. We have a motion on the table and we have a second. Council members, let's vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. For those listening online or in person, you'll have another opportunity to comment at public hearing. Please tell your friends, neighbors, and other businesses. We'd love to hear from them. Moving on to our final item is B4 is for an ordinance temporary closure of a portion of 1000 West between South Temple and approximately 15th South 1000 West. Before we begin taking comments, I'll first turn the time over to Nick Tarbett, Council Deputy Director, to give a short introduction.
This ordinance would temporarily close a segment of 1000 West between South Temple and 15th South to mitigate unsafe conditions. This is being done in an attempt to help bring the Woods Cross Quiet Zone into compliance after the Federal Railroad Administration determined safety systems and measures were found to be inadequate. Staff was alerted earlier today that there was a noticing error for tonight's public hearing and encouraged the council to continue the public hearing until the next meeting.
Thank you, Nick. Taylor, please start with our first public comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, we will have Madeline West, followed by John Heff. Madeline, you may now unmute.
Thank you. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, my name is Madeline West. I am a resident of the suspended quiet zone area along with my husband. I wanted to take a moment tonight to implore the council to pass the road closure so that the quiet zones can be restored as quickly as possible. We are currently averaging in my area around 3 hours a night of uninterrupted sleep between 12:30 and 3:30 a.m. That's on a typical night. Some nights there are more train horns than others. Some nights there are fewer, but on average it is about 3 hours. The noise level, inconsistency, and frequency of the train horns make it very difficult for us to get any kind of restful sleep. And after 6 weeks, we are starting to feel the impact of that, as are many of our neighbors. We live in an area where there are lots of apartments with affordable housing and young families. We also live near a senior living community. These are vulnerable communities that are in need of restful sleep. So this is a really important issue for them to be able to get the quiet zones restored so that they can sleep properly. Personally, we're worried about the effects of the continued exhaustion on job performance and safety when commuting to and from work for us and those in our area. It's our belief that anything that we can do to restore the quiet zones as quickly as possible will positively impact the health, well-being, and safety of these affected communities. With that in mind, we ask that the road closure be enacted so that the quiet zones can be restored. Thank you.
And next will be John Heff, who is here in person.
Good evening, council members. Thank you. If I look tired, it's because I barely slept in 2 months. The trains are very loud. I don't have a soaring plea, just a simple request to approve the ordinance for the road closure, get the quiet zone reinstated as quickly as possible. Thank you very much.
That was the final registered commenter for this item.
Thank you. I'll look for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that the council close the public hearing and adopt an ordinance temporarily closing a portion of 1000 West between South Temple and approximately 15th South.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Councilmember.
There was a staff member just talked about the issue with yes.
Nick said there was a notice.
Yeah,
Look, we have Nick Tarbett coming up to the podium.
This is when there was a noticing error. We were supposed to make UDOT aware of this, and we only got the information to them today. So the recommendation is to continue this until December 3rd.
Closed and deferred.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, we do have a motion. Do you redact it?
I would like to amend it to continue the public hearing to a future meeting.
Okay, motion. Perfect. Motion made by Councilmember Pui. Motion second by Councilmember Wharton. Again, just to clarify, because this notification was sent to UDOT today, we do have to extend the public hearing. Is there any points of discussion amongst my council members? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes, and we'll extend that to comply with regulation. To the comments, I just want to add this, and forgive me to staff if I get this incorrect, but for those listening, it's not Salt Lake City that's actually holding up the train zone. Sorry, Nick, I don't know if I can call you up to the podium. But again, I do want to clarify, it's actually the Lehigh Station and the North Salt Lake Station. So it's considered one zone, and unfortunately Salt Lake City is one contender in the middle of it, but it's not our train zone that is the issue.
Yeah,
If you want to go ahead.
even once this is closed, we will not, the Woods Cross Quiet Zone will not yet be in compliance. And the city is doing other efforts to reach out to the federal government to help address that as quickly as possible to get a waiver so that that can be reinstated.
Madam Chair, these improvements that we're doing or we're attempting to do are also part of the situation, and we are acting very quickly to solve them. But all of this, the issues through the quiet zone need to be resolved for the quiet zone to be reinstated. The city is asked for, for the issue to be addressed faster. We're waiting to hear that while they see that we're working through these changes and we're putting shovels on the ground to fix it. So I'm hopeful that we can get this done fast.
Thank you. Yes, expedited process is what we're looking for. Satisfactory. Okay, thank you so much. This brings us to potential action items. C1 for an ordinance street and alley vacation and subdivision amendment at Brooklyn Avenue. I'll look for a motion.
I move that the council adopt the ordinance.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Councilmember Petro, second by Councilmember Dugan. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, motion passes unanimously. Our final item is C2 is for the ordinance zoning map amendment at 1816 South State Street. I'll look for a motion.
I move that the council adopt the ordinance.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Councilmember Petro, second by Councilmember Dugan. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Nay.
Thank you for clarifying. Motion passes with 6 council members aye and 1 nay. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
can I take a quick moment of personal privilege to just explain
Please.
my vote? I actually think that the request is quite reasonable, but the reason why I'm voting no today is because the community members, I met with the community several times on this, and there was one point that I thought was very reasonable to have a little bit of overlap on, where I could see the community's concerns aligning with our council goals, which was to have a development agreement restricting drive-throughs, which would be allowed, currently could be allowed and would be allowed under this. And that was not agreed to. And so just for the integrity of our negotiations with other developers asking for rezones where we find just a little piece of overlap between their goals, our goals, and what the stated interest of the developer is, I thought that was a reasonable request. So I am voting no because of that. But otherwise, I think it's fine.
Thank you. Okay, any other points of personal privilege? Great. Okay, and we'd like to say thank you to Lindsay Nicola, the Deputy Chief of Staff, for attending on behalf of Mayor Mendenhall. Thank you for being here, Lindsay. Are there any questions for Lindsay? Okay, seeing none, we leave you in peace, Lindsay. Okay, we are now at the general comment portion of our agenda. This is for the public to comment on any city business not scheduled for a public hearing. The section is limited to a maximum of 1 hour and to only those individuals who registered to speak before 7:30. Our meeting rules apply to these general comments. Please avoid disruptions or threats, or we will ask a staff member to assist you out of the meeting. Also, as a reminder, comments that include profanity, personal attacks, intimidation, or discriminatory language are not persuasive or compelling to the council. They are not helpful to create a respectful or safe environment. To sign up to comment, please register online or turn in a comment card to in-person staff. We accept signups until 7:30. We will be calling the names in the order of the sign-up. If you are on Zoom, please unmute your mic when your name is called. Each person will have 2 minutes. Please raise your hand in Zoom or on Zoom for staff assistance. If you're having technical issues in Zoom, our staff member Ellie Tran can assist you. To help make sure that as many people as possible can speak during the hour, anyone in person should feel free to come up and stand in line when you hear your name called. Please also avoid interruptions so that we can use the time for as many people to comment as possible. If you reach the 2-minute mark, the host will announce time and your microphone will be muted. If you're unable to finish your comment, please share the rest via email, mail, or can call our office. Contact information is listed at slccouncil.com. If you have a hand up for the council, please notify council staff who will assist you. Taylor, you can begin with our first general comment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First will be Bernie Hart, followed by Letitia Stores, and then Mona M. Bernie is here in person.
I have always thought that the Salt Lake City Council could play a major role in solving the national homeless problem. That may sound totally ridiculous, but the problem is not going to be solved by throwing more money at it or displacing the homeless or hiring more police or funding more programs that are in existence already, because they've all had their shot at solving the problem, and the problem just gets worse. The bond failed this week. A report came out today, I believe, that the county jail is full or almost at capacity, and the homeless growth problem in Salt Lake City has grown by something like 25% over the last short period of time. No matter what we say to ourselves and how do we convince ourselves and the community and members of the community want to pretend something positive is happening, I think we all realize it's not. Some institution has to start taking a serious look at the problem and start opening the doors to new ideas, linking development and linking what you do to finding solutions to a problem that nobody has ever found a solution to anywhere. But it has to start somewhere. And I believe the first government body that opens the door and starts encouraging real new solutions can play a major role in solving a national problem. I know you can do it. I just hope you want to do it. And if you could, I'd love to help you do it. So, yeah, do great things. Thanks.
Next is Letitia Storrs, followed by Mona M, and then Katie Romney. Letitia is here in person.
Hello, thank you so much for receiving us. I am here with some neighbors. We are residents in District 4. We all live over Fuller Avenue. And we are seeing so many beautiful projects, you know, for the city. We are just requesting help to repaving the street. You have, I think, some pictures, and it's literally destroyed. I mean, it's impossible to drive, you know, every day through it. And we are just requesting that your consideration to help with the paving. That's it.
Madam
Thank
Chair,
you so much.
may I ask for the address of this?
It's in District 4. I do want to recognize, because I've worked on this since I was a staff member, it is a privately owned street. We have evidence of this. I've worked on it for 5 years. Thank you to the commenter. You've emailed, you've talked to many staff, both on the administrative side and council. It is a privately owned street, so although you cannot respond at this moment, it is a general comment, but we will make sure that staff connects with you. Jennifer, I'd love if we could flag staff to help again, just because this is a particular issue and I'm very keenly aware of it. And so I'd love to make sure that we get response back appropriately. Thank you so much. We'll continue with general comment.
Next will be Mona M, followed by Katie Romney, and then David Waldman. Mona, you may now unmute.
Thank you. I do believe I am unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much, council members, for allowing me to speak. I do think that you would agree that information is imperative to making appropriate decisions in government, and I would like to remind you that it is my responsibility to bring you relevant information, but it's your job as a governmental body to use the information to make sound judgments pertaining to residents of Salt Lake City. The reason I and we keep apprising you of this information about Scientology is not to demonstrate against the religion itself, but the abuses that are involved with its doctrine, policies, and practices. Scientology has KPIs for their members. It truly is more like an MLM than a church. For example, their legal team has a laundry list of stats that they must adhere to each week. I wanted to give you one just as a quote. This is their first stat that they must comply with every week: successfully completing legal cycles of action. And this comes right from their policy manual. Every fully completed legal cycle of action exactly as defined, is, quote, a suit filed is not a completed cycle of action. A suit ended is a completed cycle of action only when we will never hear of it again. An opponent whipped or arrested is a completed cycle of action. What may appear as a business stat or KPI is actually an incitement of violence, especially when you pair it with two other quotes. We would rather have you dead than incapable, 1, and 2, always attack, never defend. This organization is a wolf in sheep's clothing. So many people forewarned about Epstein and P. Diddy. Those horrific abuses could have been avoided. I am pleading with you to please heed my words. Thank you, and I yield back my time.
Next will be Katie Romney, followed by David Waldman, and then John Dawson. Katie's here in person.
Thank you, council members, and Mayor's not here, but Lindsay on Mayor's behalf. I'm really just here to say thank you, Councilmember Wharton and Mayor Mendenhall, for trying to get us all together. I spoke a week ago about the overnight bulldozer access road that went up the end of Edge Hill, a terrible dead-end street that's got a really bad roundabout. It's not a roundabout, but that's why I'm here today. So Rocky Mountain Power bulldozed, I think, together in cahoots with Salt Lake City, maybe. They had hopes to keep it as an access road, but we brought a whole group of people together, and thank you, Councilmember Wharton, for making that happen. A number of our neighbors spoke last week, and we're here tonight again to just say thank you for hearing us. We felt like it was a very productive meeting. Jesse and Laura were both remarkable in their response to us and kind of hearing us out. So I feel like the next order of business on this street would be to, now that 30-foot wide bulldozer went up there, is to make an appropriate roundabout so our plows and service vehicles can get up there and make the appropriate services, fire trucks especially. But I won't take any more time. I just wanted to say thank you. Chris, we're already working together on it, and I look forward to continuing. Thank you.
Next is David Waldman, followed by John Dawson, and then David Tanner. David's here. David Waldman is here in person.
Good evening, Council and Mayor staff. Thank you for having us here. David Waldman, 784 East Edge Hill Road. As Katie already mentioned last week, a bunch of us were here to talk to you about the access road that was bulldozed through our neighborhood. And we came to voice our opinion on Department of Public Utilities and this new access road. And thanks to the mayor's office and to Councilman Wharton, a meeting was convened in our neighborhood where we could talk out our issues. We had a constructive dialogue, and DPU decided to abandon the access road after RMP is complete with their work. So I'm here also with other neighbors to thank you for your work. Thank you, Mr. Wharton and the mayor's office. We deeply appreciate your getting involved, and it proves that when government is with people who care and minds are left open, we can get things done. But we are not done with this project. Much still needs to be done to ensure that reclamation work is performed correctly, completely, and in a satisfactory manner. We are asking that you please keep the pressure on DPU and RMP to ensure that the hillside not become permanently scarred with these roads that they've put in. People need to be aware that the regrading this winter and fall will partially fail during the spring runoff. With no plant roots or compacted soil to hold this earth back that they will be moving in place, spring will change the dynamics of the land again. So we have to make sure that next spring, the reclamation work is brought back to the hillside and done properly to ensure that what we look at will be properly taken care of. I also wanted to say that I would hope that there's a... Thank you.
Next will be John Dawson, followed by David Tanner, and then Claudia Alves. John is here in person.
Thank you, Madam Chair and City Council members, for this opportunity to speak this evening. I live on Edge Hill Road, and I've been a resident there for over 25 years. And I wanted to also thank the mayor's office, Chris Wharton, for the work that was done in addressing our concerns that were expressed last week. But as David said, we're not done. And the big problem is the restoration. And in addressing the restoration, we need to think about the end of Edge Hill Road, where the turnaround has always been inadequate. In the 25 years I've been there, it has never worked correctly. And rather than say we're going to restore, I think we need to do some serious engineering work and not just restore to what was there. In addition to dealing with the restoration of the end of Edge Hill Road, we need to look beyond that to the butchering of the hillside that was done apparently without any real consideration that remediation and restoration needed to be done. There's a lack of transparency that it appears to me that nobody even considered that they had to put it back once it was butchered. But we also need to look at, as I understand it now, the restoration is going to be done by a company whose job is to build trails. What needs to happen is we need to have a serious examination of the ecological damage and what we can do to restore it to what it was. Thank you.
Next is David Tanner, followed by Claudia Alves, and then Andre Alves. David's here in person.
Yeah, I'm David Tanner. I am the president of the Incline Terrace Condominium Association. I think Eva met me a few years ago when she was liaison, and I'd like to clear one thing up. Fuller Avenue is not a private road. Fuller Avenue, there's 125 feet of Fuller Avenue that the city deeded over to Incline Terrace. So the city gave away 125 feet of their road to Incline Terrace, and the rest of the road has let be deteriorating for as long as I've been the president, which is 10 years. And this file right here covers a large number of the different departments that I've gone to visit. It's been the city, it's been the county. There is nobody who has a deed on that road. That includes the owners that front it, the owners who have backyards to it. It is not maintained by anyone. And somebody at the one of the departments told me, well, why doesn't Incline take it over? It's not our road. We are in a position right now where you've got 150 units, and that is one of the primary entrances in and out of those units. And it's a mess. And if anybody wants to take the time to go up, Letty or Bob would be happy to show you. We have delivery services that won't come down the road. Trash collection is fighting with us about, you've got to do something with the road. And what have I got out of 10 years with the city and the council and everybody? Nothing, not a thing. So it's, you know, I look at it, I live in the avenues, and I know my time's up, but
No, thank you again. And I just want to interject and take a point of personal privilege. I have worked on this issue for many years, so it's great to see you again. You're one of my neighbors. I live a couple blocks away from you. I'm happy after this meeting to discuss further. Unfortunately, we have looked into this with legal authorities, and so we do have evidence, and that stance has not changed in many years, but thank you for taking the time to comment. We'll continue with general comment.
Next will be Claudia Alves, followed by Andre Alves, and then Hillary Jacobs. Claudia is here in person.
Good evening. My name is Claudia Alves. I live at Fair Park, 800 West. I want to bring your attention an issue I had a while building my shed. I visit the city multiple times to verify the code and regulations, and I was informed that if my shed was smaller than 200 square feet, no building permit will be necessary. I was told I could build it myself without a contractor. At the middle of my shed construction, a city inspector came and approved it. However, at the end of the project, another inspector came and disapproved it. I find this situation to be quite unfair. Had I known that my construction was not approved, I would not have invested my time and money into this project. I'm asking you tonight for fairness in this matter. I would like to keep my shed or allowed me to apply for a variance. I believe the information provided by the city was not clear enough for residents, including the city inspectors. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Next is Andre Alves, followed by Hillary Jacobs, and then Daniel Shelley. Andre's here in person.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Andre, and I'm also a resident of the Fair Park area on the west side of the city. And I would just like to echo the sentiments that my mother expressed. Like I said, I've actually moved to the area a little bit before her. So I've seen over the past 5 years the amount of investment that she's put in, not only to the property itself, but the surrounding area and the sidewalk and that entire block. It's almost unrecognizable from when she first bought the property to what it looks like now. And the improvements that she's made, not just to the structure of the house, like I said, but the surrounding area, to me has only brought the value of the property itself up, but also the neighboring area. Driving past it every day, I think it's only made an improvement to the neighborhood, and I think most residents in the nearby area would agree. So all those improvements, the shed included, I don't think are harming anything. In fact, I think quite the opposite. It's only, driving the value of the property and the surrounding area up. So thank you very much for your time.
Next will be Hillary Jacobs, followed by Daniel Shelley, and then Richard Barnes. Hillary's here in person.
Good evening, Council. I'm Hillary Jacobs, resident of Salt Lake City and co-founder of Save Our Foothills. As you know, Rocky Mountain Power, Public Utilities, and Public Lands have partnered to upgrade power poles across the foothills. With a green light from Public Lands and Public Utilities, Rocky Mountain Power worked outside their 20-foot easement, in theory to minimize environmental damage. They hired a construction company who aggressively bulldozed and graded 20-foot wide road cuts. They have displaced untold tons of soil, gravel, and rock and caused significant destruction, hugely impacting the wildlife habitats. This is not minimal damage. Rather, the damage caused by excessive heavy construction on the fragile ecosystems is extreme. Rocky Mountain Power and Public Utilities have promised to fix the damage, with the caveat that they intend to retain the new roads. Rather than hire a restoration specialist for this complex, delicate work, Rocky Mountain Power has, with Public Lands approval, contracted Surface Trails, a company specializing in building mountain bike trails, and Kaling Enterprises, a Boulder, Colorado trail consulting company with limited experience in the Salt Lake City foothills. Neither company specializes in habitat restoration or rehabilitation, and neither has the qualifications needed to rectify the enormous damage inflicted on these arid, fragile lands. These companies build trails. Why has this happened? Has Public Lands abdicated the responsibility to provide protective oversight and stewardship of the foothills, even though they have been charged specifically to do so? If that is the case, who is actually stewarding the lands? The city has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to address ongoing mismanagement of the foothills. Despite promises to follow the FOSI recommendations before building new trails, Public Lands has, once again, circumvented important steps needed to ensure more professional and holistic management of the natural lands. Engaging trail builders to rectify the catastrophic damage in the foothills in the name of restoration is duplicitous at best. Please hold Public Utilities and Public Lands accountable to hire actual land restoration specialists and take stewardship of the foothills.
Next is Daniel Shelley, followed by Richard Barnes, and then Brandon Jean-Pierre. Daniel is here in person.
Good evening. My name is Daniel Schelling. I'm a longtime resident of Salt Lake City and a founding member of Save Our Foothills. I spoke to you last week regarding Rocky Mountain Power's pole replacement project in the foothills that has involved the bulldozing of multiple roads across the foothills' natural lands, which in turn has resulted in significant environmental damage. While looking into how this project was authorized, Save Our Foothills has learned a number of things regarding land ownership and management of the foothills' natural lands. First, much of the Salt Lake City foothills, including the area above the avenues where Rocky Mountain Power is undertaking its pole replacement project, is actually owned by Salt Lake City Public Utilities and not public lands. It is also public utilities that authorize the permit for the pole replacement project. And in the words of Public Lands, quote, "Public Lands' primary role is to help trail users safely navigate the RMP project," unquote. The ownership of the central Salt Lake City foothills and the stated primary role of public lands in the area begs the following questions. One, if Public Utilities owns the land and public land's primary role is to work with and manage trails, who is in charge of managing and stewarding the foothills' natural lands? Who in the city is actually authorized to manage and steward these lands? Who is authorized to oversee restoration and reclamation of the foothills after completion of the RMP project? And does Public Lands have the authority to manage the foothills, sign agreements with other landowners in the foothills, and prepare the foothills open space zone plans that are being paid for by the city? I think it is important that Salt Lake City Council and administration get answers to some of these basic questions and look into the reason why, over the last 3 to 4 years, Public Lands has still not prepared a land use or recreation management plan for the foothills, yet insists upon moving forward with planning additional trails in the area. Thank you.
Next will be Richard Barnes, followed by Brandon Jean-Pierre, and then Stan Holmes. Richard's here in person.
Good evening. Richard Barnes. I'm a resident of the Rose Park area. If you're familiar with Riverside Park, where they filmed The Sandlot, when they went up against the rich kids, that's our baseball diamond. We were very pleased when a Bowery was built just to the west of there between the baseball diamond and the river. Sadly, it has become taken over by homeless people all day, every day for the last 2 weeks. Every night they're there. There has been graffiti, probably not by the homeless, but by the young punks, as I refer to them, that have graffitied all over our nice picnic tables. That's our gem for that area, about 20 acres, all the sports that take place, the soccer, etc. Baseball, it should be a place for all of us to enjoy, but it's not. Mayor Mendenhall, when she ran for about 3 or 4 years ago, she talked about her Park Rangers program. What's happened to that? Who's guarding it? I have called 911 at least a dozen times myself. I don't know how many other phone calls you've received. I'm sorry, Victoria and Alejandro, you're not here at the moment while I'm speaking to this issue. You want ideas to help the homeless? My Tent to Own program, discussed a couple of years ago. I'd be happy to discuss it with any of you. You have my contact information, lots of other items. I actually like power, meaning electrical power. Sorry that Ukraine has lost a lot of theirs to Russia in the last couple of days. Let's keep our power. Thank you.
Next is Brandon Jean-Pierre, followed by Stan Holmes.
Chair, can I take a moment? I just wanted Mr. Richard to know I am here virtually, sir. I'm listening. I heard you, and I'll be reaching out to you this week.
I honestly just came here for information gathering for something else, but I came up with a question that I didn't know I had till I got here. That's back on the HIV resolution. Just something was mentioned about like stigma about that. Like, is that honestly still a thing? Like, it just kind of felt like a time machine back to the 90s. Like, stigma on HIV. Like I thought we were over that, but yeah, serious question. Like that's really still a thing. Like that we're worried about. No, I just are you guys allowed to answer? Like, are people like really dicks to people about having HIV? I mean, like props for making the resolution. It just kind of threw me off. But are you guys not allowed to answer or? Oh, okay.
Next will be Stan Holmes, followed by Chanel Hill. Stan's here in person.
Good evening, and thank you, council members, for affording this time. My name's Stan Holmes. I live in District 3. And like most of us in this room tonight, before and now, we are Rocky Mountain Power ratepayers, and we are now collectively threatened because Rocky Mountain Power is planning to increase its rates by more than 30% via a misleading piecemeal process through the Public Service Commission right now. Via multiple dockets, Rocky Mountain Power says it needs more money due to escalating wildfire costs, a lawsuit in Oregon, rapidly rising insurance costs, and increasing coal costs. These are all related to the climate change that Rocky Mountain Power is exacerbating by burning coal, which it wants to continue through 2040, digging our climate change graves by subsidizing the coal industry. We can speak up and stop this by submitting comments to the Public Service Commission by December 9th. Council members, I have a fact sheet that's been handed around to you, along with the resolution just passed by the East Central Community Council opposing the rate increases. Please let your constituents know they are threatened, but they can still take action. The city should intervene as a party to the main rate case docket, as it could impact the CREA program. And that's the extent of my comment. Thank you.
And next is Chanel Hill, who is here in person.
Hi, council members. I've told you about the dangers of Scientology, but I'm here to shed light on the negative impact it has with our community. While they present themselves as a religious organization, their actions tell a different story. Scientology frequently misuses our law enforcement system by filing baseless complaints against peaceful protesters. This misuse wastes taxpayer money and diverts police resources from real public safety. Their community initiatives like anti-drug campaigns, human trafficking awareness may appear notable, but their misinformation and lacking transparency. These programs mislead vulnerable individuals rather than provide meaningful solutions. Furthermore, Scientology has a well-documented history of financial exploitation, abuses its members, which reflects poorly on the city's hosts of its organizations. Their activities not only create division, but it also disrupts local neighborhoods, impacting residents and businesses. Despite their tax-exempt status in religious organizations, they operate more like a private enterprise with minimal oversight, while avoiding its accountability expected of our community organization. I urge the city and the city council to investigate their practices in Salt Lake City. We need to ensure that our city resources are not being exploited and that all organization, religions, and otherwise contribute positively and ethically to our community. We need something done, and we need it done now. It's time.
That was the final registered commenter.
Thank you, everyone, for your comments. We have no new business items. We're now at unfinished business item F1 is for a resolution, Public Utilities Revenue Bond, Series 2025. I'll look for a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that the council adopt the Salt Lake City Public Utilities Revenue Bond Series 2025.
It is over. Yes, she does. I think she has a look of concern on her face, that's for sure. Well, that was a long wait for a 2-minute talk, but that's okay. We got our point across and there was 2 of us. So, okay, you guys, it is 10:30 at night and I've been up since the butt crack of dawn. No offense to anybody named Dawn. But I love you guys. I probably will hop on in the morning, probably late, because tomorrow we have Public Works, and it's going to be another busy day. So have a wonderful evening. Thanks for spending your morning and your evening with me, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.